Lisa. Oh my gosh. Wow. I want to start every day with her in my corner. Oh my Lord. Well, hello everyone. It's so good to be here. I'm so happy to be here with each and every one of you. I hope you can hear me because I'm not mic'd for the room. Can you hear me in the back? Okay, sounds good. And like I said before, I don't spit, I don't smell, so if you'd like to move up, feel free. But it's wonderful to be here with each of you. So let me know, how are you feeling today on a scale from 1 to 5? How are you feeling? 1 being like, I'd rather go back to bed. 5 being amazing, awesome. I love seeing the 5s. By the way, there is no wrong answer. Wow, so many 5s though. I see a 4, I see a 2 or a 3 or something, maybe unsure, 3. That's okay, that's okay. Our goal today is to move you up a notch, okay? That's my goal for you. So we're gonna try to get the 3s to the 4s, the 4s to the 5. If you're already a 5, we're gonna try to get you a 5 plus. Yeah. Sound good? All right, awesome. I love this energy, all right. So as mentioned, I'm BabbleOnBrooke. I'm in from Los Angeles, and I am an international award-winning host, a motivational speaker, and a coach for entrepreneurs. I help them stand out online authentically using their own communication zone of genius, a system I created. And what happens is they can more easily attract their ideal clients and customers and community. So that's a little bit about me. If you would like to take any photos or videos during this talk, I would love that. If you wind up putting them out on social media, just tag me at BabbleOnBrooke, and I'm happy to share and pump that out to my following as well as a sign of appreciation, so thank you. All right, so we're gonna get started with a little exercise, okay? Are you ready for that? Yes. Yep. All right, I love it. I love that you guys are up for anything. It's not jumping jacks, it's nothing physical, okay? You can stay seated. So here's what we're gonna do. I know we just met, but I'm gonna ask you to trust me and close your eyes. Okay, this will just take a moment, so just close your eyes, sit back, relax, and take a nice deep breath in. And when you're ready, let it out. And then at your own pace, take another nice deep full breath in, feels so good. And when you're ready, let it out. And one more time, a nice deep breath in, and maybe shrug your shoulders back, roll your head and neck from side to side, just loosen everything up. All right, now for your next inhale, take only 5% of what you've been breathing in, just 5%. If what you've been taking in so far is 100%, now you're just gonna take 5 and do it again. And then one more time, just 5%. Okay, now you can let it go and breathe normally. Breathe normally, and you can open your eyes when you're ready. How did that feel when you were taking in that little itty bitty 5%? How did that feel? You needed more, right? Exactly, short. Anything else? Energizing. Energizing, made you anxious? Any other words? Terrible. Terrible, right? Yeah. Maybe scary, right? Alarming, you don't really know what's going on, because breathing is something that happens automatically, right? We don't have to think about it, it just happens. So when there's some sort of roadblock between ourselves and breathing, we can get a bit, what's going on here? That 5%, that is how I lived for years. And I'm gonna tell you all about that. I'm also gonna tell you how I overcame that and how it pertains to you. So, as mentioned, I come from the world of entertainment. I spent my career as an international award-winning host. I was also a TV and stage actor internationally and a Fortune 500 spokesperson. And then one day, I was on my way to shoot a commercial. I was at the height of my career. I had 7 international commercials running, and I was on my way to do another one. And I was just outside of Hollywood on the 101 heading south, if you're familiar with LA. And I was in a car accident. And this car accident was a 4-car pileup. My SUV was completely totaled. It was not a fun day. The craziest part, though, is that I walked away. I walked away. Now, if you had seen pictures of my SUV, you'd go, oh my gosh, what? How in the world did that happen? By the grace of God, I walked away with tremendous pain, but still, it was like I was intact. So what happens when you get into an accident? You call a tow truck, right? So the tow truck came, I get in the tow truck, and for whatever reason, AAA, they don't do the whole, okay, we're gonna do something where we take you to a place that's really convenient for you, or we take you home. No, they don't do that. What they do is they take you to the nearest auto body shop, and so that's exactly what happened. For me, at this time, the nearest auto body shop was in Koreatown, and I found myself in a place where the people that worked there, unfortunately, didn't speak English. So already I'm in shock by what just happened, and now it's a situation where we're all confused. But somehow, some way, they offered to take me home, because at this point my phone had died, I'm in tremendous pain, I don't know which end is up. They had an employee that offered to take me all the way home, but he insisted on taking side streets. So add this to your bucket list. I'm telling you, you haven't lived until you've been in a car with someone who's driving like a maniac on side streets, and he's singing at the top of his lungs to, does anyone remember All By Myself, Celine Dion? All by myself. That's this guy, you know, on the side streets, all by myself. And I'm like, what is going on? Oh my gosh, is this really happening? You know, when you start to question, is this real or not? Am I dreaming? When am I gonna wake up if I am? So he takes me home. And then once I'm home, I thank him. I'm very grateful for what he did. I wind up being able to call my best friend. She takes me to urgent care. And urgent care says, nothing's broken, you're fine. And I said, okay. Well, nothing's broken, I'm fine. That's what they said, right? Even though I have tremendous pain. Nothing's broken, I'm fine. And they're the professionals, so therefore that must be correct. So I needed to find a way to manage this pain because it was getting more and more intense. I started going to physical therapy, and I started going 6 days a week for several hours at a time. I was hooked up to all kinds of different machines. Who remembers One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? Who remembers that? Okay. That's what this place was like. When you walked in, it was a giant room, and people were, it's getting dark, I guess, yeah, Cuckoo's Nest didn't like that. Jack Nicholson is here, now it's The Shining. So it was this giant room, and people were hooked up to all kinds of different machines. They were moaning, they were groaning, some were gyrating, others were vibrating. There were all kinds of things going on, and I'm going, why? Again, this is really getting weird. But I did that. I did that for a year. I was hooked up to all the different machines, and I would stay there for some time, just trying to manage the pain that was all over, even though, again, nothing was broken, so I should be fine. So that's going on. And it was certainly an experience. So as that's happening, within that first year after my accident, I started to have difficulty speaking and breathing. And it would come out of nowhere. Now, I'm someone that, I already told you what I did for a living, so naturally I was always talking, I was always around people, I was always out at events. There was a time in my career where I would average usually between 12 to 15 events a week. And I was all over the place, Santa Monica, downtown Hollywood, everywhere. And now, to get anywhere was such a struggle because I didn't know once I got there if I'd be able to talk. That's a pretty scary thing. And that's why I had you do that breathing exercise in the beginning, to be able to relate. So it got to the point where I would wake up in the morning, I would stand up out of bed, my heart rate would go to 160, and I would collapse. I would fall down, and I would crawl to the nearest phone. I would call 911. The ambulance would come, pick me up, take me to the emergency room. They would then admit me to the cardiac unit. And in the cardiac unit, even after tons of MRIs and CAT scans and ultrasounds and all the things, they never had any answers. Never had any answers. And that's the hardest part, right? When you're going through anything difficult in life, it's not having the answers, right? Because if you have the answer, at least you know what to do. Yeah, even if you have to go over something or around it or through it, you have a goal in mind, but not having the answers, that's some scary stuff. So to lighten this for a moment, because I know we're talking about heavy things, and it's nice to lighten the mood sometimes. Has anyone here ever been to a cardiac unit? Hopefully not, but have you? Oh my gosh, okay, more than I would expect. I don't know if it was this way where you've visited, but in the hospital where I was, everyone is hooked up to a separate heart monitor, right? to make sure that everything is good and that if anything goes awry, it can alert the nurses and the doctors, right? So each machine, again, this is just where I was, each machine played a song and they played a different song for every patient. So if something did go awry, or if you became disconnected from the machine, if the wires for some reason became disconnected, maybe while you were sleeping, it would play the song to alert the nurses and doctors. So I was fine because I was awake the whole time I was there. I couldn't sleep. But my neighbors, they were sleeping soundly, and I had one neighbor whose machine played Old MacDonald. Now here's the thing. Unfortunately, it wouldn't play the song all the way through, which is even more annoying. At least play the whole thing, right? But this was na 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 na, and then there'd be a break. Na 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 na, just over and over. Na 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 na. I mean, it's like my other neighbor had Mary Had a Little Lamb. So this was weeks for me of na 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 na. I mean, it was enough to send you back to the cuckoo's nest doctor. You know, it was like, oh my gosh, what are we doing here? So that was crazy. So that was certainly an experience. So I finally, in one of my last visits at this cardiac unit, because this kept happening, they would take me back home. I would stand up, fall down, crawl to a phone. They'd take me back, admit me to the cardiac unit, leave me there for a week, and then finally go, oh, it's inconclusive. We don't have any answers. Go home. You know, sorry, go home. That's how it was. So this was life for me for a long period of time. And finally, at the end of one of my last days, they said, well, you know, we have some bad news. They sent in a chaplain. The chaplain told me to prepare my goodbyes. And here I am, 31, 32 years old, and being told this. It was a really, really scary thing. So I didn't want to do that, and I'm still looking for answers. I know there's a reason for me being here. I know that I can keep going, which is exactly what Babylon means. So I continue to seek, and there was one doctor, thank God for him, one doctor that said, you know what, I think I know what's going on. I think I know what's going on. I said, I'll take it. What is it? And he said, it's your vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve. Has anyone ever heard of your vagus nerve? Okay, some. I'm impressed. I certainly didn't know. I'm just thinking I haven't been to Vegas in a while. How could I have contracted something? Like what? But it's vagus, V-A-G-U-S. And the vagus nerve is something that we all have. I have it, you have it, you have it, you have it, you have it, we all have it. And it's the main nerve in the body. So if you think of the motherboard to your computer, it connects to all the major systems, respiratory, pulmonary, cardiovascular, you name it. And when that vagus nerve is upset, it can send the body haywire. And it isn't something that you can think your way out of or meditate your way out of or anything like that. It's involuntary, and it can just go nuts. So that's what was happening in my case with the breathing and with the speaking. One doctor described it as, for speaking, it was like I would start the day with a balloon, basically, in my diaphragm, because we know that's where, and as Toastmasters, you know, that's where the energy comes from, right? That's how we project. It was like I would start with a full balloon in the morning, and then by mid-afternoon, the balloon was deflated. And I couldn't get anything out. And this was really strange for me because I come from a background of singing as well. So I knew how to operate all this, but still nothing coming out. And then the same with the breathing. There would just be these breathing fits out of nowhere. Well, that was the vagus nerve being agitated and upset. So the big question is, how do you heal that? How do you fix that? There was no concrete solution, but what this doctor did tell me was, I can help you manage it. So we can't fix it, but I can help you manage it. And again, I'll take it. You know, these are like breadcrumbs on the path. I will take anything at this point. So he said, here's what we need to do. We're gonna put you in a hard plastic neck brace. Have you ever seen those? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, they're big and clunky and not the most attractive thing, not the most comfortable thing either. But he said, we're gonna put you in that, and you're gonna stay in that all day and all night, indefinitely. 24/7, so I had to learn how to sleep in this thing. Again, not comfortable, but I would take it. You would take anything at this point. So I did that, and the reason for that was because with the accident, the vertebrae started to shift, but it happened well after the accident. So this is something, whenever anyone has any sort of injury, I always say, oh my gosh, keep on top of yourself, because you don't know what can pop up, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years down the line. Just keep on top of yourself and go in for checkups, that kind of thing. So the vertebrae were shifting, and by the shifting, it would agitate that vagus nerve, right? So now the idea is, if we keep it stable, there won't be shifting. So therefore, it will have time to heal. It can calm down, and at least now we can get a handle on it. That was the hope, at least. So I did that for a long time, and it did start to help to an extent. And during that time, I started seeking out specialists. I think I saw every specialist in all of Los Angeles. I saw so many doctors. And I was doing this because I was still seeking for that long-term solution. How can we fix this for the long haul, permanently? And during that time, oh my gosh, doctors are great, and just like any profession, you have really great ones, and then you have ones that maybe don't have the best bedside manner, is the best way to put it, right? Have we all experienced that, where there's both sides of the coin? Yeah. So I'll tell you a little about a couple of those, because this is just, it's so ridiculous, I have to share. So I had one doctor who saw me in the hard plastic neck brace, and he said, you don't need that. You don't need that. As a matter of fact, if you just take that off and hold that by your side, it'll do just as good. So here's what you should do. Hold it by your side, walk around, and pretend that you're a knight from the Middle Ages. Pretend you're a knight and say, I have my shield, I have my armor, I have my helmet right here. That's exactly what he said. I'm like, what is going on? So he didn't make me feel all that great, but that was him. And then I had another doctor who said, oh man, okay, I'll tell you this story. So at the time, I had 6 neck surgeries to try to help with this situation. Yeah, I know, a lot. And then I went in to see this one guy who was going to do a shot in my neck of cortisone, which was going to help reduce the inflammation. And he was going to do it while I was awake, because for surgery, you need to go to sleep. But some of these things you can stay awake for, these procedures. So I went in, and I'm laying on the table, and he's about to do it. And I'm coughing, because when the breathing would act up, I would start coughing, because you're trying to get the air in. It's just what your body does, right? So I'm laying there, and he goes to do it, and I'm coughing, and he said, stop coughing. And I said, okay, I'm sorry, okay. And then I start coughing again, and he said, stop coughing. And I said, okay, I'm just, it's because of the breathing, and he said, I know, but stop coughing. So then he goes to do it, and I cough one more time, and he said, if you don't stop coughing, I'm gonna paralyze you. No. Well, exactly. That's enough to get someone to stand up and walk out of the room, right? So that's exactly what I did. And I go into the waiting room. My friend had taken me to the doctor, and she was 9 months pregnant at this point. I mean, you can't write this stuff, it's insane. So we're sitting there, and I'm struggling, and the people at the front are saying, well, we don't know what to do. The doctor has gone into the back. He went into the back, and he like hid. He wouldn't come out and see us. So they had to coax him to come out to try to help me. And by the time he finally comes out, he walks in, and he's holding this little teacup. It's like an Alice in Wonderland tea party kind of thing. It's actually an espresso cup. You know how small those are? But he has a tea bag coming out of it. And he comes in, he has his pinky out. And I'll do this. I'm from Philly originally, so I don't mind doing the New York. He comes in, he's from New York. He comes in, and he goes, I don't know what to tell you. And we're just sitting there going, and I'm struggling, and she said, what do you mean you don't know what to tell us? Help my friend. I don't know what to tell you. And he's sipping his tea. And finally, it took me a long time, but I finally get out the words, and I say, if I were your daughter, what would you tell her? Right? And this takes a long time to get it out, but finally it's out. And this was his response. Does anyone want to guess what his response was? What do you think someone would say to that? Right? I know, it's just mind-boggling, right? He said, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. Really, sir? That's what you would tell your daughter? Okay, doesn't look good. See ya. So at this point, the breathing and everything, they needed to have the paramedics come, take me back to the hospital, all this rigmarole again. The paramedics come, and the guy locks himself in the back room. He goes in the back again, but this time locks himself back there, won't speak to the paramedics. So these are some of the people that I was encountering, and it was just a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. So I thought to myself, this is such a nightmare. How can I make it more manageable for myself mentally and emotionally? I know what I'll do. I'll write a song. Because that's what I love to do. It's a big part of my background and passion. I'll write a song. And so I thought, okay, it'll go a little something like this. To all the docs I've loved before, who pushed me straight out of their door. I went there seeking hope, asked for help. They said nope. To all the docs I've loved before. And then I realized that melody's already taken, so forget that. So moving on. This was just a crazy experience, crazy hell, and this lasted years. My accident was 2011, so now we're 2012, 2013, we're into 2014 now, and this was life. This was life. So exactly, right? So then, again, by the grace of God, there's one doctor who was actually my doctor's doctor, and he said, you know what? I know what to do. Only he says it was the really thick Ukrainian accent that I can't really do. And he was from the Ukraine, he studied in the Ukraine, and they do things differently there. He said, I know how to fix this. And I thought, my gosh, okay, let's do it. Like, can we start today? How do we do this? He said, here's the only thing, there's a caveat. You're going to have to become housebound. Housebound. And I said, well, what does that mean? He said, you can't leave the home. The reason he was saying this was because, if you remember that agitation to the vagus nerve, that would happen mostly when in transit. So I could no longer be transported to all these specialists and whatnot, because by the time I got there, things were haywire anyway. So it was moot. So he said, we're gonna have to keep you housebound. I will come to see you. I will treat you in the home. And that's what he did. He treated really extreme cases. So that's what happened. I became housebound in 2014, and he started seeing me every day. He would come for hours a day, hook me up to different machines, do different modalities, and my partner had to quit his full-time job to become my 24/7 caregiver, spoon feed me, take me to the bathroom, all the stuff that a woman in her early 30s really, really wants to have done, you know? Like, that's the idea, that's like the goal. That's what we want in life, right? And the rest of the time, I just laid flat on a massage table, staring at the ceiling, wondering why I was here. I fell into a deep suicidal depression. I went bankrupt. I became estranged from my family. It was a nightmare. It's like all those things that you never want to have happen, they were happening to me simultaneously. So I needed some sort of outlet. Even though what he was doing was helping, it was taking a long time. It was a long, slow road. And I needed some sort of community. I needed to be able to share and feel like there were people in this world that cared, whether I was here or not. And at that time, now we're into 2015, at that time, live streaming had become a thing. So now we have IG Live, Facebook Live, we have all these lives, right? But does anyone remember Periscope? Yeah? So Periscope was Twitter's live streaming arm, and they're the pioneers. They really came onto the scene. In 2015, people were getting on there, and you could go on and see people from around the world living their lives. And I could go on and see the world, so I wasn't just isolated within these four walls anymore. Now I could go on and I could see people in Tokyo, and Sydney, and New York, and Paris, and see what they were living, and that gave me hope. It also made me sad because that wasn't me out there doing it, right? So I thought, well, maybe I can start live streaming. I don't have much to share, but maybe if people want to look at a table, at a massage table, they'll tune in. So one day we did that. We propped me up against a wall, and this was a good day, a good speaking day. I could get some out. We did it early in the day. And I went on and I simply said, hi, I'm Brooke. Some days I can talk and some days I can't. And people started tuning in. They started tuning in. So what we did was we rigged an iPad to basically levitate above me. So I'm laying on the massage table. Then we had all these clamps and mounts and different things so that I could lay there and communicate. And they would tune in. They would see the doctor's visits. They would see everything that was going on. They were really invested. There were upwards of 20,000 people that would tune in at a time. And they learned also my language of blinking. So what would happen is on days where I couldn't get anything out, or by the end of the day, I would blink with my partner. So he would ask me yes or no questions. And when he would ask a question, 1 blink back meant yes, 2 meant no, and 3 meant I love you. So we taught them that, and they would ask me questions. And then right back to them, 1 blink yes, 2 no, 3 I love you. And it was this beautiful community that started to take place. They even began a medical fundraiser for us to help out. And then on top of that, there was this woman, this troll, let's say, who tried to sabotage the fundraiser, because there's always people that want to bring others down, right? So when I tell you I've been through it all, like, you think, oh, okay, this is the bottom of the barrel. It's got to go up from here. And then, oh, there's another level, and there's another level. Like, how can it keep going down? So that's exactly what was taking place. And if you're wondering what the doctor was doing as well, in addition to machines and modalities, he also had me eating a certain way. And people usually love to hear this, so I'll share. He had me eating 4 things for years. Just 4 things for several years. And if there's any nutritionists in here, your head might spin, but would you like to know what the 4 things were? Okay, so he had me eating eggs, beef, fermented yogurt, and vegetables. But here was the kick. They could never be eaten together. They had to be separated. And that's a whole nother talk I can share with you another time, but there had to be 6 to 8 hours in between all of this food. So then I thought to myself again, I'll write another song, just to lighten my spirits, you know? So that one went a little something like, you eat your eggs right now, and then you take a break. You eat your beef right now, all you really want is cake. You keep eating and waiting, and it feels like Groundhog Day. That's how you heal your spine, you know? So then I was like, oh my gosh, even that melody is taken. So continuing on, and as the years went by, I started to get stronger. I started to get healthier. I really started to work on my mindset, and that's where Babble-On comes from. I knew I had to create a mantra to want to keep going, right? And to remind myself to keep going. So that's exactly what Babble-On means to me. I knew that I would and I could continue babbling on, that I would speak again someday, that I'd be out at events again someday, that I'd be communing with people again someday. So I kept repeating that. I kept at it. And simultaneously, those people on Periscope, they became my why. Because they're tuning in and they started sending in direct messages. They started sending in letters. We got a PO box. I mean, thousands, by the thousands, people writing in and saying, you saved my life. Me. They're saying, I saved their life. They're saying, I didn't want to be here, and I tuned into you, and I saw you laying on this table, and if you can get through that, then I can get through what I am being challenged with. Well, geez, I'm not going to give up now, right? Now I have to stay here. Now I have to continue on for them. I had to show them that anything is possible. So they were that light at the end of the tunnel that I was hoping for so long. And finally, I got to a point where I started being able to see doctors outside of the home. I did stem cell, which completely changed my life. And the rest is history. So for the last several years, it turned me into a motivational speaker. So now I speak about this as opposed to just representing companies or doing entertainment. Now I can use this as a voice of hope, of inspiration, and motivation. And it's the greatest gift. Now, did I want to go through all that? Absolutely not. But if that's what brought me here today, then it was worth it. You know, if it changes one life, then it was worth it. So that's what I do today. I'm a motivational speaker. I'm also a coach. Like I said, I help people stand out online. I help them share their message online because I don't think anything is more important than that. You never know who needs to hear what, when, and there can be something that you've gone through that other people need to hear. Even if it isn't the exact person that you're speaking with. Maybe it's their cousin's hairdresser's dog's uncle, you know? And it'll somehow go down the line of telephone and it'll get to the person who needs to hear it, right? So I have some takeaways for you today, and I also have free gifts. We like free stuff, right? Okay. So first, if there's nothing else that you leave here with today, I hope it's to know that anything truly is possible. If I'm standing here today, speaking and breathing on my own, you can do anything. You can do absolutely anything, right? And it's in the word itself. Impossible, I'm possible. So anything is possible, absolutely anything. But so much of it is our mindset. We need to believe that and then take the action and the results will come. So there's a few things that people tend to ask me over and over. And the first is, well, how do I shift my mindset? When I'm going through a challenging time, how do I shift my mindset? And what I tell them is very simple. It's gonna take work, it's gonna take time, but it really is simple. Number one, you think about and you concentrate on all of the things that you do have and everything that you can do. So let's take that one first, what we can do. We're so caught up, so many of us, with what we can't do. And especially in the pandemic, I can't go travel, I can't see my family, I can't see my friends, I can't. Oh my gosh, and by the way, I had a leg up on all of you with the whole Housebound thing, right? So that felt very much like a Back to the Future moment when the pandemic happened. I'm like, what is going on? I've already lived this. But really, if you focus on what you can do as opposed to what you can't, you will soon find that that list far outweighs the can'ts, right? So maybe you can't do this, you can't do that, but you can, hopefully, get up and walk. And even if you're someone that can't do that, hopefully you can smell, you can see, you can touch, you can breathe on your own. There's always a myriad of things that we can do versus what we can't. And then likewise, for what we do have versus what we don't. Okay, maybe we don't have our ideal car, maybe we don't have the mansion, maybe we don't have the perfect relationship, or we don't have the perfect job, or whatever the case may be. Well, do you have a roof over your head? And think of all the people in this world that don't. Do you have food on your plate? Do you have clothes on your back? Do you have air in your lungs? Can you breathe? That's why I always say, when you wake up breathing, it's a good day. So I encourage all of you, every day when you get started, before you do anything else, write a gratitude list. Just take 5 minutes. 5 minutes in the beginning of your day, write out that gratitude list of all the things you do have and all the things you can do. And what you'll find is that over time, it's gonna shift your mindset. Look at it like going to the brain gym. Just like you would go and you would work out your body, now you're gonna work out your mind. You're gonna reprogram your mind so that you fixate on the positive and not all that other crap that they're feeding us in the news and all that kind of stuff. We don't need any of that. We want the positive. We want strong minds. And then another thing that people usually ask is, how do I find community when I'm going through a difficult time? How do I find community? Because that's something that we need, right? As human beings, it's in our DNA. We need to commune, we need to be together. But quite often we feel very disconnected. And so one thing I suggest is seek out organizations. If you're going through something in particular, there are so many organizations out there. Look them up online and start connecting with them, because odds are that's where you'll find like-minded souls that understand and can relate to what you're going through. And you can start communing with them. Another thing that people don't use often enough, in my opinion, is social audio. Does anyone in here use social audio? Do you know what that is? You don't know what that is? Okay, so social audio is something that came out about almost 2 years ago. So you've probably heard of Clubhouse, Twitter Spaces, Facebook's live audio. They all have them now. LinkedIn, they're all coming out with them as well. Social audio is huge. It isn't going anywhere. I wound up spending a lot of time on them in the beginning. I now have an official show on Twitter called The Inspiration Station. Social audio is incredible. Number one, fantastic, and my favorite part is that because there's no visual, it's just audio. You're in these rooms. Some of them are called rooms, some of them are called spaces, but you're in rooms talking with each other. you can get into these raw, deep conversations because you don't have the filters, you don't have all that comparison, right? None of that is going on. So you can be completely focused on just relationships. Yeah, exactly. And I can tell you, like, you can get clients from there, you can get customers. If you want, to go on for business, it's incredible. In the beginning of last year, in just 2 months on there, I had my whole year filled up with coaching clients. Because the trust factor happens so quickly because you don't have any of that other stuff, any of that other noise. So I highly recommend get on social audio. You'll be shocked, whether you're on there for personal reasons or professional, you'll be shocked at how much can be accomplished and who you can meet. And then another thing that I'm asked is, what do I do to find my purpose during a challenging time? How can I find my purpose during a challenging time? Because if you remember, I had to find that community online. I had to find them, quite frankly, to save my life. I needed a why, and they became that why. So how do you find your purpose? You share. You share. You share until the cows come home. You share, 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 share. You become a share bear. You just share. Share your story, share your message, share your struggles, whatever it is that you're going through. Share. Because again, you never know who needs to hear what, when, and you don't know what opportunities can present themselves as a result of doing that. So I have something coming out this summer called Standout Online Academy. I'm so excited. It's what I've been taking one-on-one clients through for years. And it helps them, again, authentically stand out online and more easily attract their ideal clients, customers, and community. If you'd like information on that, by all means, feel free to reach out. But share, I cannot emphasize that enough. So often we stay quiet because we think, oh, what are people gonna think? Or, oh, they don't wanna hear that, or, oh, it's not good enough. No, there are people that need, not just want, but need to hear from you. So as I said, I do have some free gifts. Would you like them? Yeah. Okay, we like free gifts. All right, so the first one is, like I mentioned, Standout Online Academy. I have a nice intro to that, which are 5 steps to standing out online. And they're not gonna be what you expect, you'd be surprised. So 5 steps to standing out online, and if you would like that, simply text me the word free, and I'm gonna give you the number, to 310-582-5094. I'll repeat that, 310-582-5094. Text me the word free. And then another free gift I have for you, I'll repeat it again. Another free gift I have for you, I have a brand new daily meditation that helps greatly with building your confidence, with accessing peace, and with manifesting the day that you truly want to have. So that's another thing I recommend listening to in the morning, right after you do your gratitude list. And so for that, text me the word meditation. And that number is 310-582-5094. 310-582-5094. So I'm going to leave you with one final note. And on your way out today, if you wouldn't mind taking a moment to talk with the lovely Jessica here. We are gathering kind words. If you have anything nice to say about this presentation, we would so love to hear. It would make my day, it would make my week, my month, my year. It would mean so much. So I thank you in advance for taking a moment to do that. Only kind words, though, only kind words. But final note, like I said, anything is possible. So of course, I had to write another song, right? Yes. Yeah, of course, right? So, this one is, you can do anything, I have no doubt. You can do anything, that's what you're about. You can do anything, and think of the hope it will bring when you finally decide to share your truth. Just think of the hope it will bring when you finally decide to share your truth. melody is not taken, so that's all mine. Thank you all so much. Remember always, when you wake up breathing, it's a good day. I encourage you to Babylon, friends, Babylon, and connect with me online at BabbleOnBrooke anywhere. I look forward to seeing you there, and have a great rest of your day. Mwah!